Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Indie Zone. My name is Kathy. Yesterday, we informed you on the Indie Zone podcast that there were a series of new court filings in the criminal case styled as State of Idaho versus Brian Kohberger in Ada County. And amongst them, there were court orders, there were judgments, all having to do with restitution imposed upon Mr. Kohberger in the proceeding. I would like to direct your attention at this time to two judgments, civil fines, that were imposed against Mr. Kohberger by operation of Idaho Code Section 195307, and it states here, on July 23, 2025, the court found that the above defendant owes a civil fine to the victim, Ben Mogan, of Post Falls, Idaho, and judgment is hereby entered, pursuant to Idaho Code 195307 against defendant and in favor of Ben Mogan, in the amount of $2,500 payable through the Ada County Court's Clerk's Office, with interest thereon at the judgment rate of 9.125% per annum from the date hereof until paid in full, and for such further costs and disbursements that may hereafter accrue in this action. This is dated August 28th, 2025, and we see here it's signed by Judge Stephen J. Hippler, not in his capacity as the district court judge presiding over this case, but as administrative district judge in the 4th Judicial District. He signed a few orders while the case was still pending prior to its closure on July 23, 2025, as administrative district court judge as well. There was a second related filing. This is also judgment, civil fine, Idaho Code Section 195307, signed by Judge Stephen J. Hippler as administrative district judge, and it was also dated August 28th, 2025. And there appears to be identical language as to the judgment in favor of Mr. Ben Mogan as there is here in this second judgment in favor of Karen Laramie. It's the same amount of the fine, $2,500. Instructions are identical as to how the fine may be paid, with the interest rate thereof of 9.125% per annum. That means each year that this judgment remains unpaid, it will accrue interest in this amount. There are other related documents that we will be addressing in future episodes of the Indie Zone, but what I wanted to point out here, because also in the state of Idaho, there was another proceeding that happened on August 28th, 2025 that indirectly related to Mr. Kohberger. It is the matter styled as Karen Laramie et al. Versus City of Moscow. There was a Zoom hearing on the matter yesterday, and it had to do with the extension of potentially a temporary restraining order that had been entered in favor of Ms. Laramie and possibly converting it to a permanent restraining order to enjoin, amongst other things, the City of Moscow from releasing further photographs, video, images, possibly documentation responsive to public records requests having to do with the Moscow Police Department's investigation into the crimes that occurred at 1122 King Road and resulted in the tragic loss of Madison, as well as Kaylee, Xana, and Ethan. And if you recall the sentencing proceeding that happened on July 23rd, 2025, a date that is referenced in both of these judgments, you'll recall that family members were invited to come to the podium and to give victim impact statements. And when it was time for Madison's family to come forward, Mr. Ben Mogan came forward, as did Ms. Laramie. Mr. Mogen is Madison's father. Mr. Mogen is not involved in the proceeding before the city of Moscow regarding whether any images, video, documentation related to his daughter should or should not be the subject of public records request. He's not a party. There's no declaration from him. And the rhetorical question that I ask at this time is why? He gave a very emotional delivery, and in my opinion, it showed the pain that he has suffered and the personal trauma from the loss of his child, who, as he described, he had a relationship with. Shouldn't his voice have been heard in the city of Moscow proceedings? I raise this pursuant to the First Amendment of the United States Constitution. It's a rhetorical question. It's an opinion. It's speculation. But we can see here that Judge Hippler awarded Mr. Mogen the same relief that Ms. Laramie was awarded with respect to their daughter, Madison Mogen, who bears Mr. Mogen's last name. If you have any comments, any thoughts, any opinions regarding this matter, please leave them here. We are continuing to await a ruling in both the city of Moscow as to whether the temporary restraining order is going to be made permanent, in part, in whole, or not at all, by Judge Megan E. Marshall, who, by the way, was the original jurist in the Idaho versus Kohberger case. She signed many orders sealing documents during her tenure as the presiding jurist at the very beginning of the case for approximately a half year from its inception, December 29th, 2022, to approximately mid-May 2023, when the matter was transferred to the jurisdiction of Judge John Judge, and where it remained through change of venue mid-September 2024, when Judge Hippler became the third and final jurist in the case through its closure on July 23rd, 2025. We are also awaiting orders from Judge Hippler regarding which, if any, of the many documents that continue to remain under seal, going on 5 weeks since Mr. Kohberger was sentenced, was transferred to the Idaho State Prison, and the very secretive, in my opinion, case was closed. This is Kathy. Thank you for joining us here today.